What's going on, guys? I am Toxic Jordan. Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be doing a little comparison video for the part 1 of the 8th anniversary banners to see, which ones, which banner is more lucrative and is going to be more beneficial for your specific account, and then just overall. We are also going to be factoring in a few other things just based on, we're going to be taking a look not only at these two banners, but also at the Part 2 banners for the 8th anniversary, just to give us some additional information about where to spend our stones. And then we're also going to be taking a glance at the previous year's Tanabata Celebration that took place right after the 7th year anniversary, because there will be some relevant information regarding this as well, as far as concerning the upcoming Tanabata Celebration. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. We've got the Boo Boys banner, the Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta and Super Saiyan 3 Goku banner here. So this is the lineup for this banner here. The opposite banner is going to be absolutely mirrored from this one. So, all of the, dual Dokkan Fest that they're throwing on here, obviously the opposite counterpart is on the opposing banner. So now, let's go ahead and take a look at, So first thing I guess we'll focus on is the new units themselves, because obviously this is the most important thing to consider when summoning on a banner, is the brand new headlining units that are going to be available. Now obviously both of the 8th anniversary LRs are ridiculous units. In my personal opinion, and I think in the majority of people's opinion, the GT Boys are much better than the Boo Boys, and the reason for that, actually, I should probably pull up their cards. I probably should have done this before the video started. I apologize about that. Okay, so we've got the LR here. Sorry about this. My internet is, super slow, so these pages just take an hour to load. Love that. And then we've got the LR here. Okay, so the biggest difference between these two cards is the very last part of their passive ability. The GT Boys, each time they perform a super attack, they are getting an additional 10% damage reduction, up to 50. So once they've done 5 super attacks, which only takes them 2 turns, with, all of the additionals and stuff they have in their passive, then they're going to be at 50% damage reduction permanently, which is really, really good. And then if you consider the, the standby skill, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a second, adding on to that, then they just become one of the best defensive units in the game, on top of dealing out a lot of damage. So that is very, very good. And then the Boo Boys don't have nearly as powerful of an ability because they're only building up crit chance here at the end with their super attacks performed. So they're not really giving themselves any additional defense. Where they get their defense is on super attack. They have an infinite defense raise. The problem with this is we know that these infinite stacking units do suffer a little bit in today's meta because a lot of the events that we're taking on, a lot of the hardest content in the game, which will still remain true post 8th anniversary, is short form content that's really, really hard turn 1. And this unit just struggles to keep up because they don't have that defensive capability out the gates. They really, really need to build up a lot, get a lot of super attacks off in order to, get these stacking defense raises. And then honestly, they don't become a defensive monster until after they activate their standby condition, and then when they're in their standby mode, they actually look very, very tanky, and it's probably their standby mode, I want to say, is the tankiest unit in the game. Yeah, just as far as considering which unit is better, I would definitely say that the GT Boys are better. I also am of the opinion that their standby skill is better. We'll be doing some additional videos talking, more in depth about the standby skills and stuff. We'll probably do that after the units come out and we can actually take them into game and show them off to you guys. So if you're a little fuzzy on how the standby skills actually work, just hang on, a week or two, and I'm sure that there will be some very, very good videos up, explaining everything. But basically, the way that it's going to work for their standby skill, once you've hit the conditions where your HP is 50% or less, or after receiving 4 or more attacks in battle starting from the 4th turn, by the way, the 50% or less is on its own, and then the receiving 4 or more attacks is from the 4th turn of battle. So you can put them into their standby mode where they will receive a free revive, basically. So if any unit dies on their rotation, then you'd get the revive with them. And when they revive, they also do a spirit bomb, super attack with the revive. So it's kind of like a leveled up version of the typical revives we're used to seeing, where you just, replenish your HP bar and then move on to the next turn. They're also going to deal out a lethal attack at the same time. It's also worth noting that while they're in their standby mode, I suppose I could show it right here because they do actually have the standby mode available. They are giving all allies 8 ki and 80% attack. So that is a huge, they become like an amazing support unit on, whatever turn that they are in their standby mode. So yeah, their standby is just absolutely perfect. It honestly couldn't be better, in my opinion. And then we come over here and we take a look at the standby mode for these guys. So, the activation conditions are exactly the same. And then, once they're in their standby mode, they're actually, this is the one that's really, really funky and very different from what we've seen before, right? Because they're, basically, you'll notice here, they don't have a super attack. So, they don't actually attack in their standby mode at all. They just, sit there, and that's why they're amazing defensively, right? Because they aren't doing anything. But all you're doing is with every unit that you are selecting ki with, you're adding to their charge counter while they're in their standby mode. So once you get to 39 ki spheres selected or above, then they get the Super Spirit Bomb active skill. If they have 38 or below when you launch their standby mode, then they just get the normal Spirit Bomb, which isn't as strong as the Super Spirit Bomb, obviously. But you have 5 turns. I believe this is true for both of the standby skills. They're only active for 5 turns, and then they'll transform back into their normal state, and you won't have access to the standby for the rest of the fight. So you have 5 turns to select the 39 ki spheres and then launch their Spirit Bomb active. They definitely won't die or get you killed while they're in their standby mode, and that Spirit Bomb is the hardest hitting attack in the game. Like, just period, hands down. Especially if you're able to get yourself, like, 50 plus ki selected or something, you're just going to one-shot literally every single enemy in the game. It's going to deal out like 30, 40 million damage. And then especially if you're able to get a critical hit with it or something, then it can be very good. So the fact that this guy's standby skill is what you're depending on this just massive amount of damage to come out of him. You want to build this unit offensively and give him crit chance and stuff so that he has the ability to crit on that, on the Super Spirit Bomb, because that is going to make a huge difference with the amount of damage that you do. The problem is, while he's in his, base state, if you just give him a bunch of crit and stuff, then he's really not going to look that good, because he needs a ton of additionals to be able to raise this defense and stuff. And honestly, I would probably just go full dodge, because turn 1, this guy is just going to get you killed. So yeah, when it comes down to the headlining units, GT Boys definitely gets the point. So that's enough about those units. Now let's go ahead and just take a glance at the rest of the banner here. So now it's worth noting that both of the banner units on both sides are very, very lackluster. The 8th anniversary banner units are just not that good. The Ice and Nova is like one of the worst banner units that they've ever released. Like, as far as the performance on the day 1 meta from where that unit released, how it performs comparative to the hardest content in the game, this is probably one of the worst banner unit releases of all time. So yeah, very, very bad. And then they are not much better, to be honest with you. I think the only benefit with these guys is that they're on heavenly events and some other niche categories where they can actually help out. Whereas these guys are just like not even a top 7 option on Shadow Dragons, right? So like, it's just, they're completely useless. So then we've got, the Gammas, going on both banners. I suppose I should probably just go over one banner at a time here, and just look at them. So, I would say, okay, so, well, we've got Gamma 1, Cooler, LR Gods, Full Power Frieza, GT Vegeta, and then, Evolution Blue Vegeta here, and then we've got the, STR Super Vegito and the, Blue Gogeta here. So I would say, comparative to this banner where we have all the counterparts. So we've got the Super Saiyan Goku and Vegeta, the LR Super Saiyan 4s. Okay, we've got Namek Goku, the GT Goku, UI Goku, and then Bootanks, and then Blue Vegito here. So yeah, honestly, I would probably say that this banner is better overall, because I would definitely favor Gamma 1 over Gamma 2. Keep in mind that, obviously using them together is like the best possible thing. And, obviously you're going to want to have both. I know that this is already going to be a drag for global players that weren't able to pull Gamma 1 or 2, because this is your second opportunity only to get them. They have not returned yet. So I know a lot of people are going to be freaking out wanting to get both, you know, which they're going to be available with red coins, so because they're returning. So you might just have the option to buy them, which could be really good. But yeah, I would say your resources are probably better spent on this banner, because while the GT boys are on this banner, I would just say the rest of it is really not as good. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. So we do have to consider the, where am I at here? We do have to consider the EZAs. This is one of the biggest benefits that Global gets for the anniversary banners, is that we get a lot of this information ahead of time, right? Because on JP, when these banners dropped, they had no idea that the fifth anniversary LRs were going to get their EZAs, right? There was just speculation about it happening. People were also assuming that the Gotenks and Boo were going, or I'm sorry, that the Boo Tanks and Super Vegito were going to get their EZAs, which didn't happen, right? But we know that the Blue Fusions are getting their EZAs, so we know that the Vegito and Gogeta are both amazing, right? There really isn't... It's kind of a toss-up. They're like the same unit, right? So they're pretty much equal. But that is worth considering, because we know they're going to EZA during the 8th anniversary. So if you don't have these units yet, then they could be very, very good ones to pick up as well. I guess the biggest downside of this banner is having the blue Vegeta here instead of the UI Goku. I think this is, you know, if you go 1-for-1 every single unit on the banner, the only units on this banner that aren't better than the units on the other banner is the main headliner and this one right here. If this was GT Boys and UI Goku, then every single unit on this banner would be better, in my opinion. I think the other, like, debatable one is the full power Frieza, potentially against the, you know, the Super Saiyan Goku. The only reason I favor full power Frieza is because if you look at, like, a, like Cooler's team, right? Or like a full Wicked Bloodline setup, or whatever type of team he would be fitting on villain-wise, I think he's going to look a lot better than if you were to throw Namek Goku on, like, a super... Well, I mean, he's got multiple 200% teams, but any one of his 200% teams, I just feel like the full power Frieza is going to be a little more cohesive, especially considering this is by far the best full power Frieza in game, and, you know, this Namek Super Saiyan Goku is like one of the worst Super Saiyan Gokus that we've got at this point, because they've released so many good ones, right? So it's just not likely that you're going to be using this as your Super Saiyan Goku card, whereas you definitely will be using this as your full power Frieza. So that's kind of my thought process there. So yeah, overall, I would say, just straight up, if you are definitely 100% summoning on the Part 1 8th Anniversary banners and you're just not sure where to go, you don't have necessarily a favorite between the new headlining units, you just want to know which one's going to give you the most value, then I would say right here. You're going to want to go with the Boo Boys banner. You know, this is obviously advice mainly for newer players that don't have a ton of these units. Obviously, if you've already got a copy of most of these units, then, you know, go nuts, pull dupes for whatever you want. And honestly, in that case, if you are a seasoned player who has at least one copy of every one of these units, I would say your resources are probably better spent on the GT Boys banner just to pick up a copy of themselves. Because they are much more worth it than the Boo Boys, right? Okay, so something else that we need to consider here, which I did just want to throw out, because I know that, like, okay, when people do these, you know, these, like, summon suggestion style videos, whether it's like a should you summon, or a which unit is better, or which banner is better, whatever type of thing, which we're kind of doing a hybrid of all of them. That is kind of my point here, is to do a hybrid of all of them, because I know that, you know, people have varying different opinions about the reason that they choose to summon on a banner, or reasons that they choose to save and stuff. So that is why we're going over all the different banners that we are here. So that is the Part 1 banners addressed. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the Part 2 banners, which can be a relevant thing to consider, because if you are someone that, you know, desires some of the units that are going to be available on these Part 2 banners, then that may influence your decision about where you decide to spend your stones, whether you decide to hang on to them and not spend so much on Part 1, right? Which is another huge benefit of being on Global, because on JP, when you're summoning in Part 1, you have no idea what's coming for Part 2, but now we know exactly what's going to be there, because obviously we know they don't change anniversary banners Part 1 or Part 2 at all. They never have a single time from the JP version of the banners straight onto Global, so... So yeah, this is the Carnival LR Kid Gohan here. So his banner is actually really, really good here. We are having the The Carnival LRs from the Worldwide Download Celebration last year are finally returning. So we've got the Cooler on this banner, and then on the base form Goku's banner, we've got the Super Saiyan Goku, which is very, very nice. So now, with these Carnival banners, the way that they've been doing it is they have been throwing, like 7 LRs featured on it, and then a few SSRs. So you've got 10 featured units total here. 7 LRs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then just the 3 SSRs there. Obviously, these 3 SSRs are pretty forgettable, but these LRs are really good. These top 3 right here are S tier, like double S tier, very, very good. And then, the rest of them are kind of mid, maybe somewhat usable, but not so much, not as exciting, right? And then on the Goku banner, kind of same deal. These 3 right here are amazing S tier units. The rest of them are like, kind of mid-ish at this point, but still kind of usable. So yeah, the fact that there are 7 featured LRs, and I know that like yellow coin banners are the least summoned on banners, because the value just has never been there compared to like Dokkan Fest banners. A lot of people are missing a lot of LRs. So these Carnival banners can be a really, really good opportunity to pick up some of those yellow coin LRs that you're missing. So keep that in mind that these are coming for part 2. There will also be like some tickets that you can spend on these banners and stuff. If you do want to spend your stones on part 1, there will be special like rainbow tickets that you can actually like try and get some summons in on these banners just to pull a few LRs. And then keep in mind in the unfeatured pool, all of the yellow coin LRs are here in the unfeatured pool, right? So you do have the opportunity to pull any and all of them. So yeah, that is the part 2. So if these part 2 banners look good to you, or there's some yellow coin LRs that you heavily desire, then or any of these Carnival LRs as well that you heavily desire, then you could absolutely go in heavier on part 2. So now the last thing to consider is the Tanabata Celebration, known on Global as the Thank You Celebration, which for Global happens to release very, very closely after the after the what's it called? The anniversary. Sorry. My brain is dying today. So yeah, after the anniversary happens, then we go into the Worldwide Download Celebration. And then beyond that, we have the Tanabata Celebration, right? Oh, actually, I should have pulled up the Worldwide Download Celebration stuff. Let me do that really quick. Hold on. Okay, so here we have the Part 1 Dokkan Fest from the Worldwide Download Celebration last year, which was the SGR LR Cooler, right? And then alongside that, you get a Carnival banner in Part 1, which was the Super Saiyan Goku. And then in Part 2, we had the Super Saiyan Goku and Vegeta Dokkan Fest alongside the Physical LR Meta Cooler Carnival LR banner. So, really quick, let's go ahead and just take a look at the value on these banners. These were some of the best banners to ever release at the time of their release, right? A lot of these units were really, really good. We also got some amazing banner units, coming out alongside them. And then again, the Carnival system, these Carnival banners, I feel are just going to get better and better as time goes on, because it's maybe pretty safe to assume that these units are going to return for this year's Worldwide Download Celebration. We already know that they're returning for the anniversary, because the part 2 of the anniversary we saw is Carnival banners that return these units. So maybe it's possible that these headliners won't return on this year's Carnival banners. They'll just be unfeatured in them. And then once you get to the anniversary is when you can, have them featured again. I'm not really sure how they're going to do it, right? Because we haven't experienced this new Carnival LR system for more than 1 year yet. But we're getting there. We're very close. So just basically keep in mind that with this new Carnival system, the Worldwide Download Celebration overall looks to have more value than the anniversary. At least last year, this was true. A lot of people would say that the 7th anniversary, or the 7th year Worldwide Download Celebration, these banners that I'm showing you right now, have more value than the 8th anniversary banners themselves. Considering the time gap between them, right? Because obviously the 8th anniversary banners came later, so obviously they're going to be better. But if you compare them to just how good they were for that moment in the game, then, it could be very, very wise to just completely skip anniversary or spend very, very little on the anniversary and just save up for Worldwide Download Celebration, whatever that is going to be, this time around. which is something that I'm going to be considering doing because I already have copies of everything on the anniversary banners, right? All I'll be missing is the new units, so I'm probably not going to go in too heavy and just wait for Worldwide Download Celebration where there's even more new units to pull. So yeah, that could be a very good strat for people. So yeah, the last thing that I wanted to talk about here is the Tanabata Celebration. So now this is another thing to consider when considering to summon on the anniversary or not, because, you know, after we do the anniversary, we go into, you know, Worldwide is the next major celebration, which is just a month or two later. And then shortly after that, coming in at like the end of the year, November, December time, we've got the Tanabata Celebration. So we're, you know, starting at the anniversary, we are breaking into the big portion of the year. For the next 6 months, this is where all the big units come out. This is where all the big summons happen. So especially if you're a free-to-play player or a low-spending player, you really got to be careful about where you're spending your stones. So this was the Int LR Vegeta and Trunks was last year's Tanabata unit. So remember that the Tanabata banner itself is not the one that you want to summon on, because I'm sorry, this is not actually the Tanabata banner. This is the like Tanabata Dokkan Fest that comes out at the beginning or like pre part of the celebration. So you do get the new headlining LRs with some other, you know, whatever kind of niche units here. Looks like it was actually a 10 featured unit banner. Okay. Yeah, so this is pretty common here. And then coming up, so you can see the live date of this banner was June 30th. And then not a week later, on July 6th, they release a second version of this banner that actually is guaranteed to return the anniversary LRs. So if you are someone like me who is, you know, only missing the new headlining units, and, you know, honestly, because the 8th anniversary side banner units are really bad, they're not really worth picking up, you could honestly fully skip the anniversary, continue to save up for the Worldwide Download Celebration, go nuts for the Worldwide Download Celebration, get all those units, and then continue to save up for the end of the year for the Tanabata Celebration, skip that first banner, wait for this banner that's going to have the new Tanabata unit, whatever SSR was featured on the Tanabata banner, and both 8th anniversary LRs returning. And then you could just spend a bunch of stones on this banner and potentially pull all of those new units just a few months later. And you've got all of these other Dokkan Fests that are going to be available as well, which obviously these are dating back very far, so there's probably not going to be a ton of relevant stuff in here. But this list obviously does get updated to better units every year as we move through the game's meta. So, yeah, so these are all big things to consider. So yeah, my full plan is probably just to summon a little bit on the 8th anniversary banners, because there will be, you know, amazing discounts and stuff, right? There's going to be tons of tickets. There's going to be the buy 3, get 1 free. There's going to be all kinds of stuff. So it's definitely going to be worth actually putting maybe a few, you know, stones into a few rounds of the buy 3, get 1 free, especially because on Global, they like to do discounted rounds. So it's very possible, especially for anniversary, that we could see like, you know, a 25, 35, 45 step-up summons happen multiple rounds and with the buy 3, get 1 free. So it'll probably be worth doing those just because you're spending such a little amount of stones for so many characters on these really good banners. But yeah, then beyond that, I'm probably just going to save up for Worldwide and Tanabata beyond that. So yeah, I think that is probably the biggest advice that I can give people this year, is do not go too nuts on the anniversary. Please keep in mind foresight of what other stuff is coming. Oh, the last thing that I had to mention, the reason I'm showing you the previous year's Tanabata Celebration is because obviously this year's Tanabata Celebration has not happened yet. The Tanabata Celebration happens on JP at the same time as the anniversary on Global. So we actually, I've already gotten announced what the Tanabata unit is going to be. It's going to be a Super Saiyan 4 full power Goku from the Baby Saga, I believe. So we are going to be seeing that as an LR for our Tanabata Celebration this year. We don't have the details for the card yet, and we haven't seen what the banner is going to look like yet. So the good news is that that banner should be releasing around the same time as the 7th or the 8th anniversary banners for Global, because it's going to be right, you know, that first week of July. So the good news is if you do want to know more information about the Tanabata unit, whether like how good the unit is itself or how good the banner is going to be, then just know that you'll have the ability to check that stuff out before actually summoning on the anniversary banners. And I am going to make another, specific should you summon once part 1 comes for the anniversary banners, and we will talk about that. We'll talk about the Tanabata unit in that video, because it will have been released and the details will be up, and I'll go into depth about, how good that whole setup seems to be, and my thoughts and opinions on it, how it compares to the anniversary celebration. So, yeah, just know that you don't have to summon minute 1. We can wait, find out some information about Tanabata before you make your final decision about how you want to go into the end of the year. But I definitely advise people starting from July, going all the way to December, it is wise to make sure you plan ahead now. Decide what you're going to want to do, because, at the start of the anniversary, we're going to have all the information pretty much for what's coming, other than the worldwide download celebration. That's always going to be a toss-up, but it's safe to assume that it's going to be an amazing, amazing celebration. So, I hope that this information left you guys well informed, and you guys are going into the anniversary with a little more confidence with your stones. If you guys have any further questions about any of this stuff, any details I didn't cover that you want me to, ask in the comments below, and I'll be happy to respond to you and give you some additional information. So best of luck as we get to the start of the anniversary. I wish you guys luck on whatever you guys decide to summon on. That is going to do it for this one, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace!